This week, low volume, high value feedback, LvHv as we call it. What do you do if you don't have millions of customers to get feedback from? What if you've got thousands or even hundreds, but boy, are they very important people? Then you are in the world of low volume, high value. One of the most common questions we get when people call us at Customerville is this. They say, listen, we've got a very small universe of customers, right? And as we try and get feedback from them to plan our future and to evaluate our customer experience, we're lucky to get maybe a 4% response rate, which would be great if we were Starbucks or something, but that's not what we are, and it's just not cutting it. We need to do exponentially better. We need to get maybe half of these people to share their experience with us. And they're very, very difficult people to reach, to engage. How are we going to do that? We refer to this as low volume, high value feedback, and you'll hear Customerville talk about it as LvHv feedback. And over this episode and the next couple of episodes, we're going to explore that. How do you get success in engaging at a much higher level with this small kind of elite group of people? This week will actually be kind of an interesting week for me. I'm in Madrid all week, and as I often do when I'm in Madrid, and I'm there a lot, I'm going to stop in and pay a visit to a personal friend of mine, the Spanish tailor, Agustin Garcia. If you've ever met me personally, I was almost certainly wearing a suit, and that suit was almost certainly made by Agustin Garcia. I mention this because I think Augustin's business is actually a neat little microcosm for low volume, high value feedback. I mean, let's take a look at his business. Augustin probably has, he has hundreds of clients, but probably has a couple hundred clients that really, really matter in his business. That's too many for him to coherently get feedback from by talking to them one-on-one, right? But it's also a population that's small enough and demanding enough that it would just feel weird and completely off-brand for him to send them like a Survey Monkey survey or something, right? That just wouldn't work. It would even damage his brand. It won't do him any good to get 3% or 4% of those people to give feedback. Just in absolute numbers, that's too small, isn't it? He needs to interact with maybe half of those people. And to top it all off, he's in like a business where his customers are predisposed to the highest level of quality. That's one of the things I love about him, is when I put on a suit he made every morning, I know a human being stitched every single piece of this. I try and keep my game high in terms of design and quality. That's my job as CEO of Customerville. I walk out the door and every day that's something that a person who dedicated their life to making made, and that inspires me. But guess what? All of his other clients are just like me. So in getting feedback, that has got to be a real experience that resonates in and of itself. Does this sound familiar? Of course it does. You could overlay this same set of facts on all kinds of businesses that are low volume, high value. You could be in pharmaceuticals or legal services. You could be in luxury goods. You could be in engineering, enterprise sales, all kinds of things. And the same set of facts probably apply. Look, getting feedback from this type of person in a low volume, high value situation has always been hard. Always. That's just the reality, right? But this is actually getting harder. These guys are kind of the canary in the coal mine. They're becoming almost impossible to get feedback from because in their broader lives as consumers, they're swamped with billions and billions. That's why we call this vlog 40 billion reasons, right? Americans alone got 40 billion requests for feedback last year. What that's done is sort of turn people off on the idea of sharing feedback. And unfortunately, the hardest hit people are people like you, people who need to get feedback from a small number of incredibly high value stakeholders. The good news is that there are some very, very effective strategies for engaging with these people. And we're going to share these with you over the next few kind of episodes. There are really 5 points, though, that we'll talk about today, just to give you an overview of the 5 qualities we want to see in any highly successful LvHv feedback initiative. The first thing we want you to do is change the paradigm. Don't think of this as a survey, for crying out loud, that you're going to send this really important stakeholder. Start by explaining this as an initiative where you're asking a very small number of select people to help guide the future direction of your product, your company, something like that. Stroke those egos, but get them involved in the broader mission of what you're trying to do, which is guide the company and the brand that, by the way, they're already predisposed to, right? The second thing we say is get in front of the invitation. Do not, in any LvHv initiative, simply send an email or SMS invitation to this very valuable person and expect that they're going to click on it and fill out your survey, your web form. Right? That's a recipe for disaster. Before you ask them anything, we want you to invite them into this process and sell it. Make them feel special, make them feel valued, explain what you're doing, but do that before the first time you ever ask for feedback, including, by the way, in analog. So we'll show some examples where instead of you may be emailing people and telling them about this, but if this is a really important customer, send them a wooden box with a printed invitation in it or something. Send them something physical, something analog. Number 3, be highly designed and highly personalized. Ask yourself this at every moment along this journey of asking this very high value person for feedback. Ask yourself, listen, is this how I would ask for feedback if I was face to face with this person? If I could magically follow this person throughout their life with my product or my service, right? I could be there at all the right moments. Is this what I would be asking? Is this when I would be asking it? Because you get a sense for how gracefully humans actually do that when you put yourself in that situation, when you kind of imagine that situation. Well, the good news is very frequently with low volume, high value feedback, we have a wealth of information about what this client does with us and when they do it. And with a little bit of thoughtfulness, you can leverage that information you have about the events in this in your customer's life and in their life with you in order to ask things at strategic times that just feel really right, that reinforce this idea of engagement. Number 4, multi-format, multi-channel, but mono voice. You're going to ask for feedback, and you ought to be asking for feedback in a number of ways over the course of time. But those things, remember we talked a minute ago, we talked about the idea of kind of explaining the story of what you're doing. Once you do that, every piece here has to feel like a cohesive chapter in that story, because if your low volume, high value, respondent is just getting a bunch of surveys over the course of the year from different places, number 1, it feels way out of balance. It doesn't feel like they're part of something cohesive. Number 2, it just looks like you don't have your shit together because you're emailing them surveys at all kinds of different times in all kinds of different ways. So a significant effort needs to go into making these things feel cohesive so they never fall out of the story of why they're sharing this information with you. Number 5, feature an interlocutor. This is really important. By the way, a lot of people don't even know what an interlocutor is, so you're probably looking that up right now. If you don't, I'll make it easy for you. An interlocutor is your conversational partner, right? It's the other person in the conversation. And right now, actually, you and I are each other's interlocutors. How about that? Here's the thing, people don't give feedback. They don't give really high quality feedback anyway to web forms or something, right? They give it to other people. Your LvHv initiative needs to have a face. It needs to have somebody representing it. And that person needs to be somebody your customer can not only identify with, but frankly, that they want to identify with. So that person can be your CEO. It can be a long-standing customer. It could even be a long-tenured employee. Some of our clients are big enough and old enough enterprises that they have a company historian. And that person can also be an excellent interlocutor. But this is the face of your initiative. And this is the person who will be there talking about it when we invite this very important stakeholder of yours into this process, right? And over the course of the years, you interact with them. This will be the person to say, hey, I'm back. It's Max again, right? And this time I wanted to ask you something because we're thinking of changing the product. I know you have, and I want your opinion on it. Or we noticed you brought your family and stayed with us last night, and you've been kind enough to talk to me over the course of the year. I'd love to know how that went. Okay, that's it for this week. Over the next few episodes, we'll be unpacking these things. I think you're really going to enjoy it. For me, this is just one of my favorite things to talk about. We've got some wonderful examples to show you. So until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.